Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Sell More Book Show, episode 468. I'm Brian Cohen from Best Page Forward, joined by Claire Taylor from FFS Media. Claire, we are getting into the later portions of March. You can hardly believe it, but it's going to be April. Oh my gosh, how are you?
I'm doing great, Brian. This has been a wild month. March usually is, but making it through. How are you doing?
I'm good. Gearing up for, spring break with the kiddo. Having to figure out stuff to do for a whole week, but I think we'll be okay. I know she needs the break. We need the break. And I'm excited about that. I think that as we get into April, there's a lot of exciting things. I've got my ad challenge coming up April 19th. We've got webinars aplenty. It's always a fun time. Going into the deeper parts of spring because we're going to get more sunshine and we're going to have a lot more author learning happening. And that is, two of my favorite things, sunshine and author learning.
They go together like sunshine and author learning.
Yeah. Nothing goes together better than that. We have a previous week's question here, which was, what book or series would you pitch for TV or movies, and what would be your elevator pitch for it? Robert Graver said, elevator pitch would be, life has never been the same since the world was robbed of music, art, and creative passion. Roderick Legrand decides to build a time machine to go back and find who is responsible, the artist.
Interesting.
Elevator-y.
Yeah, some of these elevator rides are a little longer than others, I will say. But
true.
Okay, we have Darren Sapp, who said, fans of Stranger Things and Stand By Me will love this nostalgic return to 1979, where teen friends spend the summer in East Texas woods near their small town and attempt to solve a 60-year-old murder mystery based on the novel Summer of '79.
That sounds like one of your summers. In the late 80s, early 90s. Yeah.
Just solving murders. It's what I did.
Just solving murders in the Texas woods is all I'm saying.
It wasn't stand by me. It was like, hey, just stand in front of me, okay?
Yeah,
just,
stand
I'm
over
not,
there.
I'm not really into this.
Yeah. Paul Caro said, in a world where teens gain superpowers, who will lead them? The strongest superhero, Nolan Walker, fills that role as inspirational leader for all the teen superheroes. But when he falls in battle, the government leaps dimensions to abduct another world's Nolan Walker to pose as the fallen hero. The problem? This Nolan is a geek. Can this less than powerful Nolan fill the inspirational shoes of his predecessor? Everything is now multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
All multiverse. So.
Yes, I love the multiverse. These are good elevator pitches.
Yeah, these are good. Good one, Paul. Good job, Darren and Robert and everyone. You can answer the question of the week over in our various places, including the Sell More Book Show After Party Facebook group. We've got a top story of the week here, so let's do it. Direct. Spotify and Findaway Voices are closing the Authors Direct audiobook service, reports Eline from Lovely Audiobooks. According to emails that went out to authors selling their books via the service, the Authors Direct store will close for purchases on April 14th, and the app will be removed from stores on June 5th. The site advertising Authors Direct was still up and running at the time of this writing. Many indie authors are understandably upset with this announcement because, as the name implies, it was perhaps the easiest way to sell direct when it came to audiobooks. Listeners shouldn't worry, at least as long as the author of the audiobook has enabled sales of their audiobooks through Spotify. According to Spotify emails, customers who own audiobooks from Authors Direct will automatically receive an email with a corresponding audiobook code for Spotify, says Eline. If an author makes their audiobook available on Spotify, Authors Direct customers will now own that audiobook on Spotify. This also means that if an author decides not to offer their audiobooks there, Authors Direct customers will end up with nothing, and they'll like it. Indie authors are scrambling to set up other ways to sell direct, but none are anywhere as simple as Authors Direct was. So pour one out for Authors Direct. This screams of either one of two things. One, not enough people were using it. Two, Spotify said, get rid of it. One of those two things. What do you think, Claire?
I think it could be a little bit of both, but I
Yeah.
think this also points out some issues with DRM, which is direct rights management or digital rights management. But it shows that when when companies only allow you to listen to the audiobooks you've bought on their player, there's the potential of them going out of business, you no longer being able to access the things that you bought, the digital products you bought with them.
Right.
One of the things that I love about using BookFunnel for selling direct with audiobooks is that you have the option of turning the DRM on or off. And now I know that impulse a lot of the times is to put DRM on because you want to protect your work. You don't want someone to download it and pirate it. But there are problems like this that arise from it. And so I think, learning a little bit about how DRM can impact the customer and how it limits the author when you're selling direct might be a good thing to look into.
Yeah, and DRM stripping is pretty easy. So people are pirating plenty of DRM'd books.
Yeah, I think we covered that last week about how
Exactly.
people are pirating from Amazon that does that automatically. But yeah, so I think that this is another nudge towards just setting up your own store, which does come with, issues like sales tax and taxes and that sort of thing. So you might want to look into that ahead of time. It's not as simple as it seems. There is a convenience that comes with selling from these big platforms that already have that all set up and do that for you. But it might be worth looking into if you want your customers to be able to keep their audiobooks indefinitely.
Yeah. So, Claire, when should an author consider selling direct versus letting stores handle it as they did this time around? Authors Direct was still a store. Even though it said direct, it was actually not. So when should authors do it themselves?
So I think when authors are deciding whether to sell from a store and let them handle all of the file delivery and the sales tax and all of that versus selling direct, the main thing you have to consider is your bandwidth, because sometimes you have to make the convenient choice based on your time constraints, based on your level of knowledge on, how it all works. And so it's very important that we don't judge people for the choice they make here, because some people have more bandwidth than others. And so I think that is the biggest thing that you need to consider. Do you have the time to set up? Because it does take quite a bit of time to set up direct sales. And it's very easy to just upload an audiobook once you have it. So, if you're uploading it to like a store, like a distributor, like Findaway Voices. So yeah, I think that you need to be realistic about it because you don't want to just never have the time to do it and your books just sit there going, your audiobooks go unlistened to and your books go unread because you just haven't been able to, you're too gung-ho about this is the right way to do it. And you are being very impractical by not letting anyone read your stuff. So
it can only be on this obscure app that is for Amazon phones only.
Right. All right, Brian, without an option like Authors Direct, how can an author sell or distribute audiobooks?
With Authors Direct going away, there are still options for selling direct. Claire mentioned one earlier on the show, is that you can use BookFunnel. BookFunnel is one of the easiest ways to distribute an audiobook, and this can be after you've sold it on another platform, whether it be Shopify or whether it be some shopping cart platform like Thrivecart. You can deliver audiobooks. There's not only one way. It's not like we've lost our only way to do it. BookFunnel makes it really, really easy, and there's a BookFunnel app, but you can also listen to it on your phone or computer. So right now, I think that's probably the easiest way, and it's not all that different from uploading an ebook. Uploading that audio version just has a couple of additional steps. So that is currently the number one way that I would recommend.
Yeah, and you don't always have to sell your books. You can just give them away.
This is true. This is true. So I hear it. The sirens are blaring. Wow, wow, pshung, pshung, pshung. What? I mean, I feel like I have a Marvel budget over here.
Yeah, this is about to be the tornado round, really, with all the
sirens.
fussing. Yeah.
So, Claire, what are some good ways to network and make more relationships with other authors if you don't go to physical writing events?
There are all kinds of ways to network and make strong relationships with other writers without physically going to events, in-person events. One of the easy ways is a social network, but you can also look at something like a group promotion. BookFunnel does some of these. Other authors, which usually you will have to find through Facebook or something like that, also host these. I do the Cozy Mystery Book Blast every quarter, and that is just a huge, huge boost for my sales. But it also is, meeting other authors. I met a lot of people through anthologies, being in them, but more importantly, organizing them, because then you're the touch point. And it is a lot of work, but offering to do work for people is a great way to start relationships. Yeah.
Yeah, those are great points. I've done the same. Met multiple people through anthologies, and it's, it's if you don't have to always be present at these places. So it's great points, Claire.
All right, Brian, when is it worth trying to get your book into bookstores?
In my humble opinion, it is rarely worth the time that is needed to get your book into bookstores. I think that there are too many pieces of red tape to cut through, and there are terrible terms of returns, you having to pay extra money for them. I think it's much better to find local events where you can sell your books on a table rather than trying to get it into a store, because you get to control the process a lot more, and you don't have to have these gatekeepers getting in the way of your book being on the shelves, because it's not just about being on the shelves, it is about making connections with readers, and you can do that a lot better at local live events than you can at a local bookstore.
Totally. Yeah, love it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So, Claire, our pantsers, aka discovery writers, which I think is the nicest little term there, are discovery writers doomed to have difficulty with things like writing to a certain market?
I don't think that discovery writers are doomed to, flounder around and not be able to write to market, or really to not be able to do anything. It presents a specific set of challenges when you're a discovery writer that you have to learn how to address. And it, just like it can present a certain number of challenges to really outline the crap out of your book and then write to that can present problems. So I think it's about figuring out what kind of writer you are, what you want to get from the process of writing, because that's going to be more important than writing to market, frankly, because if you don't know what you want to get out of the process, you are just a few steps away from making the process really miserable so that you burn out. But I think that if you are a discovery writer, then you might want to work on some of your revision skills so that you can write what you want to write, see what it is, and then kind of corral it. That can help.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Or you cannot write to market.
Or you cannot write to market, which you do not have to, certainly.
Yeah. All right. So, Brian, Chris Fox wrote Writing to Market back in 2016. So is Writing to Market still relevant here in 2023?
So even though the book, which I had a typo on, even though the book Write to Market, that's my bad. Even though the book Write to Market was written in 2016, Writing to Market is still relevant here in 2023. I think it's also almost as maligned as AI is right now by some, because I think people think that you're selling out if you're writing to market. It goes back to your goals, because it does become a little bit easier to reach these whale readers who are very, very excited to read a lot of books. It's easier if you have thought about your marketing before writing, because that's really what writing to market is. It's marketing. You need to think about the marketing when you are plotting the book. You need to do the research based on the marketing. Yes, you still need to make it your own. Claire has great tips on these with aspects of your book like theme to make it your own. But if you are trying to figure out why the 4 or 5 books you've written before haven't made any progress in finding you new readers, it's at least worth looking into the concept of writing to market, because it still does hold water here in 2023, and I'm guessing it will far beyond that. So,
excellent.
Oh, thanks.
You done well, Brian. You done well.
Goodness, thanks. Well, it wasn't just the name drop of you in there either. Claire, if an author realizes a series isn't selling, should they wrap it up or stop writing it right then and there?
Okay, so if a writer is writing and they realize the series isn't selling, they might ask, do I wrap it up or do I just stop it altogether? It doesn't have to be one of the two. You can continue writing it if you like writing that series. It may not have started selling yet. It may not have taken off, but it could at some point, and it is another asset. So if you're really enjoying it and your goal isn't just 100% purely profit, then you could keep writing it. That is totally an option. If you are just, not feeling it, if getting that feedback, that external validation is, important fuel for you, then you can either wrap it up if you think you can do that in like a book, or you can just put it aside for a while. If you are mentally able to do that, you can just put it aside, because we think like, okay, well, if I'm not publishing frequently on it, then, I can't come back to it. Think about how many series you read growing up that had years between the books coming out. So it's entirely acceptable for you to just set something aside until maybe you have that passion again. And one of the tricks that I like to recommend is to say, I'm not going to work on this series until X date. So you can revisit it. You will return and ask yourself the question, am I ready to write it? Later on. Between then and now, you're free of it. But you haven't forgotten it. It's not going to be like hanging over your head. It's just a later problem.
It's a problem for a future you.
Yeah, and you may have completely different ideas at that point. And it may be like so obvious that, yes, this is what I need to be writing. And it may be very, very obvious that, oh no, that person who wrote the first few books has it no longer lives here. So we can just, we can put it aside.
Love that. Love that. So we need a question of the week, Claire. Obviously, we were talking today about the direct audiobook selling. Do you have any thoughts on what you want to ask a question about?
I think we should do it about that. I think we should ask about what are some obstacles if you have. Ooh, I got a good one actually.
Ooh, yes. Okay.
Forget everything else I was thinking.
Yes.
If you have started to set up direct sales, what is a pro tip that you've learned?
Ooh, I like that. Share your best pro tips for direct selling. I love it. So you can, it's kind of a question, kind of not the way I phrased it. The way Claire phrased it, it was a question. But you can answer that over at the Sell More Book Show After Party Facebook group, or in the comment section at sellmorebookshow.com, or find our Sell More Book Show YouTube channel, which I think we need to link to on the site, because I don't think we have. But great stuff, Claire. As we go into April, in a couple of days here, what should authors take away as far as the first quarter's over? Let's move into the second quarter. Is there anything they should think about as far as how to classify what happened in quarter one?
What the heck happened reflection?
Yes, exactly.
I think that it's always important to take season into account. We came out of the holidays in January. We didn't have a whole lot of sunlight if you're in the northern hemisphere. There were some environmental factors that can really slow us down. There's also sometimes the pressure of starting a new year and setting these big goals can really get to some people. So I think that you need to make sure that you are considering the difference of environment and time and place as you are looking at your quarter one goals versus what you want to do for quarter two.
Love it. Love it. Wise words, double, triple wisdom to end us on. And so definitely go check out Claire's stuff at ffs.media. My ad challenge is coming up, authorsadvertise.com, coming up on April 19th. For Claire, I'm Brian. Oh my gosh, it's going to be April. Have a great start to April of selling your books. And we'll be back for episode 469. Bye.
Bye.